Hey, welcome. This is Benjamin from Eclipse IoT. Today I'm joined with by Laurent from MicroEJ, Laurent Lagosanto. MicroEJ is one of our sponsors. Roxanne is also helping me co-host the webinar today, and hopefully we'll get James Kirkland from Red Hat. He's having issues with the network. So if you were here on Monday, you may have heard that already, but I want to use the opportunity of this webinar to remind you guys a few things about the Open IoT Challenge before we dive into some of our sponsors offer. On Monday, you've learned more about what your tech, Bit, Reactive, and oops, what's the third one, Roxanne? I'm blanking.
Sorry, the third what?
So what did we learn about on Monday? We learned about your tech, Reactive, and Bosch.
Bosch, exactly.
Bosch, okay. So that was the third one.
Good thing vacations are coming.
Yeah, I was just trying to see whether you were paying attention. Good. So yeah, today we'll learn a few more things about our sponsors offering. And before we jump to that, let me just quickly share my screen. I want to remind you guys a few things about the timeline of the challenge. So let me find my window here. So that's the Open IoT Challenge website, iot.eclipse.org/Open IoT Challenge. We are here December 15th. That's our second webinar to learn more about what our sponsors do. And in terms of like more global timeline, that's last week, right? So last week we've announced the winners of the hardware starter kits. So in total, we've been receiving more than 83 actually, if you look at the website proposals. So all of them are actually great. You guys really made some good efforts to work on explaining what you plan on building, how you plan on using open source technology. So all of you guys are in. Like, I want to make this super clear. Yes, we've awarded hardware starter kits, and like a few teams have an extra boost, an extra incentive by means of some money to spend towards hardware, etc. I'm really sorry if you are not part of the shortlist, but it really doesn't mean that you shouldn't enter. Right? There were just so many participations that we could shortlist. So yeah, please make sure that you participate nevertheless. So what does it mean to participate? It means that you have until the end of February, so 2 months and some to work on your project. So you basically will buy some hardware, I guess. If you're, it's very likely that your project will involve hardware one way or the other. Although I think a few proposals don't include hardware. Yeah, long story short, you will start putting together all the elements for your project, and you may have realized that one rule of the challenge is really to make sure that you communicate about what you're building, that you're very vocal about what your solution is going to be about. So create a blog or share on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever, but make sure to. It's really important. This is how you're going to get the judge's attention. And my suggestion would be that in total, you plan on at least three articles or blog posts or maybe videos, starting with how you, like what's your overall idea, and then maybe once you get your hardware, you start blogging and communicating about that. What are the choices you made? What made you change your mind? If you realize that maybe you needed different hardware, stuff like that. This is really important to share your experience there. It might actually benefit to other people interested in IoT. Maybe sometime in January, like once you progress, especially over the holiday season, it's likely that you will have time to work on your project. Please make sure to have another blog post where you update us and the world about what you've been building. What are the some of the solutions, the choices you've made in terms of architecture? What kind of open source projects you've selected? If you have already some code available on GitHub, share that. That's really lots of extra points again that you'll get from the jury if you do that, and that's also a way to get feedback, right? Maybe you'll get help from other participants, you'll get help from me, from the other sponsors, from whoever is going to be following your project. And come the end of February, February 27th, it's going to be time to wrap things up. So maybe you'll do a final video or a blog post where you explain the final result and what you achieved. Maybe your project will be 100% complete. Maybe it'll only be 80, 90% complete, but tell us what worked, what didn't work. It's also again, valuable feedback to anyone interested in developing a IoT solution and maybe getting inspired from your project. So that's our timeline. If you have any questions, or like if you need tips for setting up your blog or stuff like that, let us know. We would be happy to help. Roxanne and I would be certainly very happy to help. Another announcement, important announcement. There was a question. And by the way, if you have any questions today for Roxanne or me, or for Laurent, use the chat on YouTube. Another communication channel that we've set up early this week is the Slack channel for the Open IoT Challenge. So if you should have been invited, basically, if you're a participant. It's on openiotchallenge.slack.com, and there you can chat with your fellow challengers, or you can engage with our sponsors. You can chat with your team as well if you want to have your whole team communication on Slack, and that could be nice as well. You can set up private channels and stuff like that. So please do that. And I think that's what I had for you for kind of the introduction. And now I will stop sharing my screen in just a minute. And good morning, or good afternoon rather, Laurent from MicroEJ. It's great to have you. We're very happy to have MicroEJ sponsoring the challenge for the third time. Basically, you guys have been very supportive from day one. So why don't you tell us a bit more about what MicroEJ is doing, and maybe what kind of solutions, projects the participants can use in their for building the projects.
Yeah, thank you, Benjamin. Thanks for the introduction. So let me quickly switch over to my slides. Yeah, can you see them?
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm going to present what MicroEJ can offer in the context of this challenge. Little introduction about me. I'm working for a long time now in Java in the embedded space, and I'm involved in the Eclipse IoT Edge project. I'm not yet a committer, but it should be in the coming weeks. And I'm heavily involved in this project on the technology side of the project. A little bit about MicroEJ. We are an independent software vendor. We're a French company, R&D funded company, working in the IoT space, in the embedded space, providing virtualization technologies. Sorry, virtualization technologies for Java, for embedded devices. Sorry, for running basically Java-like runtime environments for small devices. We have a bunch of partners in almost all the scope of the IoT space, both in the hardware space with big names in the hardware industry, but also in the software space for the embedded software, and also in the cloud space where we are making partnerships with cloud vendors as well. And of course, in terms of community participation, we are, as you said, heavily involved in the IoT Eclipse community. Our main focus in this community is about the Edge project. So basically, Edge is, as the name hints, is about runtime environment and APIs for the small devices, for the edge devices. So in this work group, in the IoT work group, we define using in a white paper, we defined the architecture of the IoT as we see it, and there are really three spaces that are covered by this work group and by the Eclipse technologies. There is the constrained device space for the very small devices that are typically based on microcontroller units. There is the gateway and smart devices space, which is covering things that look more like a Raspberry Pi or gateways, this kind of devices that can run bigger software and that have a larger memory footprints and larger budget, basically. And then there is the IoT cloud space. And the focus of Edge is clearly on this constrained device space. We are targeting microcontroller devices, which means they cannot run Linux-based solutions. They need to run dedicated software solutions, and we provide MicroEJ OS as one of those dedicated runtime solutions. And Edge is really about defining an API a Java API that can be used on any of those kind of small devices. And as a Java API, it can also be used in gateways and smart devices as well, if you want to make sure that some of your code is portable between the two categories of devices. For more details about Edge, you can check out the webinar I did on the September 28th in the virtual IT meetup. I think it's a pretty good introduction to what Edge is all about and the overall details about the project content. Just a quick reminder about it, if you really don't know what it's all about. It's really about providing APIs for these three aspects that you have to deal with on when building applications for this kind of devices. It's about peripheral management, discovering and using what's on board of your device. It's about dealing with digital and analog I/O. It basically means doing interactions with the GPIOs and in analogic or digital mode. And it's also about dealing with communication interfaces like serial ports or any kind of ports that may be connected to your board. Again, there is more detail in the webinar of last September. If you wanted to give it a shot and test Edge in the context of your applications, you can. First you'll need a board, and for the moment, the board we support for the reference implementation is the STM32 discovery board, F7 discovery board from ST Microelectronics. So you can borrow one of these, and then all you need to do to test Edge is to get a free copy of MicroEJ Studio, which is available on developer.microej.com. And you'll find the instructions to install it and to test your first applications on the Getting Started page there. And if you want to work specifically on Edge, then you can clone the Edge GitHub repository. It's actually a fork of the Eclipse Edge repository. Not everything has been merged yet, has been pulled into the Eclipse Edge. The generic part of Edge is into Eclipse, into the Eclipse GitHub, but the implementation specific part is still on MicroEJ GitHub. We'll solve that in the coming weeks. And using cloning this, and then you have access to the Edge source code, and it's just as easy as building it from the MicroEJ Studio on the two libraries you'll get from GitHub, and then you'll find the sample application in there, so you can test the Edge technology on this board from ST. If you need more than just Edge, if you need things that are out of the scope of Edge, or if you need things that you think should be in the scope of Edge, first tell us and ask for new things on Edge. It would be helpful to have a request for instruments and request for new features for Edge. Well, we are always looking for it. But in the meantime, if you need things that are already there and available, you can use MicroEJ 4.0 libraries that are available on our microej.com, developer.microej.com website. There are a bunch of foundation libraries that are available on the ST discovery board, and there are also add-on libraries that are available also that can be downloaded as part of your applications to extend them. And a lot of these libraries are actually open source, and you can get them from the MicroEJ GitHub. On this particular GitHub, you'll find many demonstration projects, but also how-tos and like you can see JSON libraries that run on MicroEJ. You can find also a POW implementation, which is an MQTT client that we forked from the original and that we made compliant with MicroEJ constraints, and some UI related projects, some mathematical projects, and some things that deal with the XML parsing and things like that. So many projects that you can find there, and that will provide examples on there. And that's pretty much about it. And don't hesitate to contact me. I'm registered on Slack, and you have my email address also on the beginning of the presentation.
Cool, thanks, Laura. Actually, I learned a few things myself. I didn't realize that you guys had so many examples on your GitHub repo. So I highly encourage anyone looking at using Java in their projects to have a look at Eclipse Edge and maybe MicroEJ as well. So that was very helpful. Thank you. Roxanne, do we have any questions for Laura at this point?
I didn't see any. I did share the presentation from the virtual IoT meetup, so maybe
like you said, Laura, I think the virtual IoT meetup is a great resource as well. I think there's a few people who've already shown interest in using Edge as part of their proposal. So let's see how it goes. Are there other boards than the ST Micro Discovery that would be supported, or?
In the context of Edge, only the ST Micro is supported, but for MicroEJ itself, there is the K65 from NXP, and there is another one. You'll find it on the developer website. The preferred one, I guess, is the ST, because we want to put the focus on Edge really.
Okay. So Roxanne, any news from James at Red Hat? Do we have James joining us, or will we record something afterwards?
I haven't heard from him, so hopefully we'll record something and tag it onto the video afterwards.
Okay, but I think I think James is also on Slack. So if you guys, maybe Roxanne or I will make sure to share with you guys on the Slack channel the handles, the nicknames of all our sponsors, of all the sponsors that are part of the channel, so as you can spam them with your questions. Okay, so I think that's it. It's too bad we don't have any questions, but thanks Laurent for the update on Edge and what MicroEJ is doing. And if people have questions, the Slack channel or the comments on YouTube are the preferred way to engage. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.